Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Relationship Stories. Today, one woman is asking us if she is the idiot for kicked out her relative from the wedding for wearing a military uniform. But before giving the judgment, let's hear the story from her side. The son of one of my husband's family friends showed up to my wedding in his Marine's formal wear, complete with all his medals. Now, I have nothing against anyone in the military, but this was a black tie optional wedding, and frankly, it felt very out of place. And it seemed like he was trying to show off. My wedding had over 300 guests, and nobody else felt the need to wear something to make them stand out. Up until the point that I asked him to leave, he, of course, was acting very well mannered and like a complete gentleman, as one might expect from a member of the armed forces, and there were even a few excited teenage girls at my wedding who wanted to take a picture with him, to which he graciously agreed. Many people were thanking him for his service, and frankly, it just felt like the only reason he wore that was to be in the spotlight and make it about him, which I don't think you are supposed to do at someone else's wedding. If he wants to wear that to his own wedding, then fine, but the whole point of having a dress code at a wedding is so that no one guest will stand out too much. I felt that he should have known this, since the whole point of uniforms in the military is so that you don't stand out from everyone else. I felt kind of bad about asking him to leave, but it just didn't feel right for him to be there like that. Am I the idiot for doing that? Now I will tell you my opinion. To be honest, everyone sucks here. He sucks because he should know better. It doesn't matter if the uniform is formal wear. It's clearly something that he was proud of, as he should be. But he is no stranger to attention for it and being thanked for his service. He knew this would happen at the wedding, therefore it was an idiot thing to do and lacked any tact. However, you are the bigger idiot here. Instead of just letting it go, which is what you should have done, you blew it up. This makes you look bad to your guests, family and friends, who will now remember you as a person who kicked a guy out for seemingly no reason. Wedding rule number 1 for everyone is don't ruin the harmony. What he did, while tactless, was not directly harmful to anyone. You, however, did ruin the memory. Now, we will see what our friends think about this issue. Friend once said, "Not the idiot. I don't understand why people are defending this. He has dress blues. That doesn't mean you have to wear them in a black tie event, unless it's military orders to be there. He wore them for the attention. I'm in the Marines and I can't stress enough how much me and all my other buddies would beat at this dude at the wedding for being a good-ass attention whore. Just because you served does not mean everyone needs to know that. If this were my Marine, I would have told him good initiative, bad judgment. There is a time and place for everything. A wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event for that couple. Don't steal the spotlight. Anyone who doesn't think a wedding is not for the couple to show off themselves is wrong. They could get married at a damn courthouse if they didn't care about attention. But people want to celebrate themselves with their family. Because I know me personally as a Marine myself, could only think the whole time I read this person's story was what a freaking boot, because if someone showed up to my wedding in their freaking blues, I had told them to leave after telling him to stop acting like a goddamn boot. I would never wear my blues for any reason outside of military orders. It's freaking pointless. The only reason I have seen fellow Marines do it is because they are full of themselves and want attention. Our friend too said, "To be honest, everyone sucks here. My husband is active duty, and from what he had and his buddies tell me, it's not appropriate to wear dress blues to a civilian event unless specifically asked to do so. It's generally frowned up by other service members. Even at our own wedding, my husband opted not to wear his dress blues because it's a civilian event and he didn't want the focus to be on his military service rather than our marriage. So you are not wrong that this guest was likely being attention-seeking. That said, it's overkill to kick him out. He was not hurting anything. A few people thanking him for his service really does not detract from your specialty at all. It's completely understandable to be annoyed in this situation, but escalating it by asking him to leave probably only made matters worse. The story 2 is, my wife has a nasty habit of biting her nails and she is not super on top of keeping her hands washed. I like to eat handfuls of shredded cheese as a snack. My wife will take my bag of cheese out of the fridge and stick her unwashed hand into my cheese. Immediately after taking her fingers out of her mouth, that is freaking disgusting. Now the whole bag of cheese is ruined and my snack is gone. So I started buying her own bags of cheese. I clearly labeled each bag with either her name or mine. Fast forward to the next morning and she has my bag of cheese. Hers is sitting in the fridge opened and contaminated by her unwashed hands. She didn't bother checking the labels, so now she has 2 bags of cheese and I have 0. Next step, I buy a mini fridge and put it in my bedroom. We have separate bedrooms, so I figured I was solving the problem. But number 3, days later that, I get home from work and she is sitting on my bed and eating my bag of cheese. There was still plenty of cheese in the main fridge. This is not a money issue. I don't care if she eats 100 bags of cheese. I just want my cheese to be my cheese. So I know it has not had hand-washed hands in it. So I installed a deadbolt on my bedroom door and I keep my room locked whenever I'm not home. Now my cheese is safe. My wife still has plenty of cheese to eat. She just no longer has access to my freaking cheese. She says it should not matter since we kiss all the time, but I don't want to eat cheese that has someone else's stale saliva on it. No matter how much I love her, food safety is food safety. She is introducing germs into fertile breeding ground and I just can't get over that. I need my cheese to be clean. So am I the idiot for doing this? The additional information given by the OP is, I get that this is not common, but we have our own reasons. She snores. 2. I snore. She likes to sleep in a 72-degree room while I prefer a 66-degree room. She is a blanket hog. We are polyamorous and sometimes we need our own separate beds for activities. We keep different schedules. I wake up at midnight and go to sleep at 6 p.m. She wakes up at noon and goes to sleep at 10 p.m. I don't want to wake her up coming to bed and vice versa. We can afford it. Everyone should have their own space if they can afford it to. Everyone deserves to have some place that is theirs and theirs alone. I would have no problem letting her in my room if she would accept that my cheese is my cheese. There was no lock on this door last week. We have been married for 28 years. This is a new problem. Now let's see some of the opinions from our friends for this issue. Not the a-hole. It is not spit gems. You are upset over it's all the gems on her hands. From the bathroom, the trash, the pets, I highly doubt she is licking her hands and putting spitty hands into the bag. But all those other gems, to be honest, it is weird that either of you stick hands into bags of cheese. Why not put it in a little bowl or measuring cup and eat from that instead of the bag? Because you are also contaminating your cheese when you are putting it in your mouth and then putting in your hand into the bag for more. Neither of you are very hygienic. We eat a lot of cheese. Cheese is amazing, but always put it in something else. Story 3. So I'm currently on maternity leave with my baby. A dog keeps me company so day. I get a knock on the door and almost don't answer it, but then remember I have got a book on order, so I jump up and go to the door. There is a guy at the door who is in a worker uniform and informs me that the tree out front is dead and that he is a tree surgeon, etc., etc., and all kind of unwanted things. I tell him that it's not in my garden and he would have to speak to the neighbor who owns the land or tree. I go to close the door thinking he would be on his merry way, but he goes, "Is that your dog?" and is looking behind me into the house, where he then sees my baby in her boppy pillow and starts to asking questions. How old is she? Will you have more? which is fine, but then goes on to ask if the dog is protective, does he like strangers, etc. Now this is when I started to get the creepy vibe and he kept looking at my chest. I felt like he was asking if the dog would attack him if he came in basically. I lied and said he doesn't like men apart from my partner, and then half closed the door so that if he did try to come in and I could have fighting chance of slamming it. I think he got the hint and went back to his nondescript one, no company name or anything on that, and sat in there for a while driving off. On one hand, I feel like I have just judged a guy simply for being a guy, cause I would not have reacted that way if it was a lady. On the other hand, I watch way too much forensic files and my spidey senses were tingling. Would you have felt suspicious at this, or am I just a clickhead that is profiling a guy who is just trying to drum up some business? My opinion about this issue is not the idiot, but you really can't tell because your description is pretty subjective, which is totally understandable though. You have a child and you were alone. No judgment from my part, of course. Everyone should try to be open-minded, but if you feel weirded out by someone, it's totally fine to take precautions. Glad you and your child are safe. Better be safe than sorry. The other opinion from our friends are 100% not an idiot. That sounds suspect as F. People use tactics like that to case houses like that all the time. So they just got into the truck and waited a bit before driving off. If they wanted the business, would not they have been stopped by the neighbor's house? Have you seen them since? Honestly, I would call the cops just to report something suspicious. A friend too said, "Not an idiot, you have a right to defend yourself from a random solicitor. He should honestly expect as much. He had no right to be at your door and he has no right to your politeness. Also, congratulations for your baby."